Let's talk about a feeling I think we all know. You're sticking with a bad plan, a rough investment, maybe even a terrible meal. Why? Well, it's because you've already put so much into it, right? You don't want to waste what you've already spent. That feeling, that powerful, nagging feeling, it actually has a name. It's called the sunk cost fallacy. Today we're going to dive deep into this mental trap and, more importantly, figure out how to escape it.
So here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll get a handle on what this trap really is. Then, we'll dig into the psychology of why our brains fall for it. After that, we'll look at some real-world examples, from bad movies to billion-dollar blunders. And finally, the best part, a clear plan to help you break free.
All right, let's kick things off with the basics. What exactly is this flawed thinking that gets us into so much trouble?
Come on, we've all been there, right? You're an hour into a movie, it's a total slog, you're bored out of your mind, but you stay. Why? Because you paid $15 for that ticket. Here's the thing, though. That money's gone. It's gone whether you stay for another hour or you walk out and do something you actually enjoy. But something in our head just screams, get your money's worth, even if it means wasting something way more valuable, your time.
So, here's the textbook definition. A sunk cost is anything you've already spent that you cannot get back. It could be money, sure, but it could also be your time or your effort. The fallacy, well, that's the trap. It's when we let those unrecoverable costs mess with our future decisions. Instead of looking at the situation as it is right now, we get chained to a decision we made in the past.
And this is where our logic gets completely twisted. Check out this classic scenario from a research study. Imagine you accidentally bought 2 non-refundable ski trips for the same weekend. One to Wisconsin for $50, and you know it's going to be a blast. The other to Michigan for $100, and you've heard it's, well, not as fun. Rationally, the choice is a no-brainer, right? You go on the trip you'll enjoy more. But you know what most people do? They choose the more expensive, less fun trip. Just think about that. They are consciously choosing to have a worse time, all to justify the bigger cost from the past. It's wild.
Which of course leads us to the big question. Why? Why are our brains wired to do this? Let's peel back the layers and look at the psychology behind it all.
Okay, so what is going on in our heads? Turns out there are a few key culprits. First up, something called loss aversion. Our brains are simply hardwired to hate losing. The pain of a loss just feels way more intense than the pleasure of an equal gain. Then there's our deep-seated need to seem consistent. Admitting a mistake and changing course? Oof, that can feel like a personal failure. And finally, you've just got raw emotion. Things like regret or even embarrassment can completely cloud our judgment, making us double down on a bad choice just to avoid feeling bad.
And this isn't just some vague feeling, you know? Researchers Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky actually proved this. Their work showed that, psychologically, the sting of losing $20 feels about twice as powerful as the joy of finding $20. That intense bias makes us cling to a bad situation, because letting go feels like officially stamping it as a loss, and that sets off all kinds of alarm bells in our brain.
So what's the solution? Well, believe it or not, Disney actually nailed it. Seriously. Economists will tell you the exact same thing as Queen Elsa. You've just gotta let it go. Sunk costs are in the past. They're done. They are totally irrelevant to what you should do next. The only thing that matters is the decision you're facing right now.
But this whole thing is so much bigger than just movies or ski trips. This little cognitive glitch can scale up a lot, and the consequences can be absolutely massive. Let's look at how this flawed thinking snowballs from a minor inconvenience into a major disaster.
Yeah, we can laugh about forcing ourselves to finish a terrible book because we're already halfway through, but that exact same logic gets applied to much, much bigger things, and it ends up costing people their careers and costing companies millions, sometimes even billions of dollars.
And once you see this pattern, you start seeing it everywhere. You know, finishing a boring TV show because I've already watched 6 hours, I have to see how it ends. Or someone sticking with a degree they hate because I can't just throw away 3 years of tuition. Or a company pouring more money into a failing software project because we've come too far to give up now. In every single case, a past cost is making a mess of a future decision. In fact, this bias is so well known in economics, it has a famous nickname, the Concorde fallacy. The British and French governments kept pumping billions of dollars into the Concorde supersonic jet for years, long after it was crystal clear the project would never, ever be profitable. Why? Because they'd already spent so much. It is the absolute poster child for throwing good money after bad on a global scale.
Okay, so now that we know how powerful and dangerous this is, how in the world do we fight back against our own brains?
Don't worry, there's a plan. Let's walk through your 3-step escape route.
This escape plan really comes down to 3 key actions. First, you have to completely reset your perspective using something called zero-based thinking. Second, you need to shift your focus from what you've lost to what you could gain. That's thinking about opportunity costs. And third, you got to break out of your own head and get a fresh perspective from someone who isn't emotionally invested.
This question right here. This is your secret weapon. This is the heart of zero-based thinking. You have to try and forget everything you've already spent. The money, the time, all of it. Just imagine you're starting from scratch, right now, and ask yourself, knowing what I know today, would I still choose to do this? If the honest answer is no, well, then you probably have your real answer.
Ultimately, this all comes down to one crucial mindset shift. Every moment you decide to continue on a path, you're making a new investment of your valuable resources. So the question you have to constantly ask is this: am I using my time and energy to build a better future, or am I just using it to defend a mistake I made in the past? So I'm going to leave you with a question to chew on. Think about your own life right now. It could be a project, a job, maybe even a relationship. What are you holding on to simply because you've already invested so much? And here's the more important question: what amazing future could you be building if you just had the courage to let it go?